welcome to Music Theory video number 1, where we're going to talk about high pitches and low pitches. These will correspond to high and lows number 1, 2, 3 in the Music Theory module. Let's get cracking.
Let's start by looking at some examples of instruments to determine which one has a higher pitch and a lower pitch. One of the ways we can determine whether an instrument will have a high or low pitch is the length that the air flows through the instrument or the length of the thing making the vibration, such as on string instruments. In the woodwind family, we have two examples. We have a flute and bassoon. If you look at the flute, you'll notice that the length of tubing is just that long. That's it. This is pretty short, so we're going to create a higher frequency sound wave coming out of it. A shorter length means the frequency will be higher and your ear perceives this as a higher pitch. Now, the bassoon looks like it's not that much bigger, but what you don't realize is it actually doubles around, so the whole length of tubing is actually quite a bit longer than the flute. This will allow larger sound waves to come out of the instrument, which your ear would perceive as lower. Let's look at the trumpet and the trombone for another example. Trumpet, air will enter at the mouthpiece, circle around, approximately like that, and come out the bell. Now this looks kind of long, but compared to the trombone, it's a very short distance. Trombone, you'll actually start at the mouthpiece, curve all the way around, and then curve around again before it comes out the bell. This longer length of tubing allows for longer sound waves to be created. For the string family, we have a violin and a cello. The length of the string is what's going to determine the high or lowness of the pitch. The violin, the string only goes from about there to there, relatively short, only a couple feet, versus the cello goes several feet. A longer length of string will mean a lower vibration. Another way to tell what your instrument or another instrument will be playing, whether it's high or low, you can look at the clef. We have three different examples on the left. The treble clef is used for high-pitched instruments, such as the violin and the flute, clarinet, etc. These instruments all create high-frequency sound waves and are notated in the treble clef. The only one that uses the middle one, the alto clef, is the viola. This is a special case, but the viola kind of sits halfway between the treble and the other one we haven't talked about yet, the bass clef, so they get their own special clef. The bottom one, the bass clef, is for all those big, low-frequency instruments such as cello, bass, tuba, trombone. These instruments all make lower pitches. On the right side of the page, you can see several squiggly lines. These actually represent sound waves. So higher frequency instruments such as the violin are going to create faster, more frequent sound waves, which we perceive as higher. The viola would be creating more in the middle, and the cello, a lower instrument, is going to have those big, wide sound waves. In fact, if you play the double bass, the very lowest note on the bass, the sound waves are so big and long, they're actually about 20 feet long if you could see them. The final way that we can represent the highness or lowness of pitches is on the musical staff, the 5 lines and 4 spaces. The lower down on the page a note is, such as the one I drew right here, the lower the pitch is going to be. The higher up on the page, the higher the pitch is going to be. You could expect that if it's a big jump like I've drawn here between these two pitches, you're going to have a large gap between the pitches. The one is going to be much higher, the other one's going to be much lower. If the notes are closer on the staff, such as these two notes, they're going to be almost the same. You'll be able to hear that one is slightly higher than the other. Now we're going to try listening to some high and low sounds and determining which one is which. A high sound could be something like a squeak, a bird chirp, or a squeal. These pitches are going higher. A low pitch could sound something like a big truck, a roaring lion, or big scary thunder. These pitches are going lower. Now let's listen to two pitches and see if we can determine just with our ears which one is higher. We'll do 3 examples, and I think it'll be a good test to see whether you're able to tell which pitch is higher or lower. Alright, let's begin. Here's example number 1. Which pitch is higher? Number 1 or number 2? Number 1 or number 2? If you answered pitch number 1, you're correct. Let's try another one. Which pitch is higher? Pitch number 1 or pitch number 2? Pitch number 1 or pitch number 2? If you answered pitch number 2, you are correct. For our final example, we'll try to determine which pitch is lower. Which pitch is lower, number 1 or number 2? Number 1 or number 2? If you said number 2, you are correct.
So how did you do? Were you able to identify all the high and low pitches correctly in the examples? If you were, great job. If you weren't, that's okay. Try it again. You can always go back and listen to those examples again and see if you can get them right the second or third time. Don't give up, just keep listening. If you think that you've got this down, go ahead and find the theory module and try high and lows number 1, 2, and 3 and see how you do. Looking forward to seeing you in the next video.